Tindy C. This is Radio Fox.
And in talk, I will be chatting to Louise Richardson. She's actually a district councillor, secretary of the Rotary Club in Blaby, and an author. And she's got a charity as well, and we're talking to her in just a little while.
Tindy C.
And I'm now speaking to my guest, who is Louise Richardson. Hello, Louise. How are you?
Hello, fine, Tindy, thanks.
Thank you very much for joining us today, firstly. And you've got something very special happening on Friday, haven't you?
I have a very special concert for charity happening at Brockington College.
Oh, right, okay.
Rebecca Newman, who is our #1 selling soprano, she's known as the People's Soprano, is coming to give us a wonderful evening of song. And she's coming all the way from York to do that for us, so we're very lucky to have her coming along.
Oh, fascinating. So anybody can come along to see this if they wish to do so?
Yes, of course. Tickets are £15.
Right.
That includes a welcome drink, and it'll be a mixed repertoire from Rebecca, so it'll have something for everybody, and it should be a really good night.
Okay.
She sings a lot of classical, but she will be doing a mixed repertoire, classical music from the theatre, musicals, and also popular music, so it'll be a fun evening.
Oh,
yeah.
That sounds amazing. That sounds really, really, really good. So it's this Friday, isn't it, the 27th of January?
Yes, doors open at 7 for 7:30 for the start of the concert.
Anyway, let's ask you a little bit more about yourself. Tell me, what do you do then?
I'm a councillor for Blaby.
Okay.
I'm actually for the Enderby and Littlethorpe ward, Enderby and St John's ward. I'm also a counsellor in the other sense of the word.
Right, okay.
And a theatre healing practitioner.
Right.
Since I was ill, and that's where all the charity workers come from, I've also published 2 books of poetry, and I now paint, which are totally different to the lifestyle I lived before
So dare I ask you about what you were doing prior to doing all this artistic stuff?
Prior to that, my careers were within health. I was in pathology, and then I moved into education. So yeah, quite a varied life.
Varied varied amount of things so far then. It gives you a good solid background for doing what you're doing now.
Yes, it does. Yeah, I was a business manager in a school, so a lot of the project management and health and safety and finance, all those things come into play when you're doing such big projects abroad. Right.
Okay, so tell us more about this project now, this charity that this concert is actually in aid of. Can you tell us a little bit more about what it's called and what you hope to achieve with this charity?
Yeah, the charity is called Tumaini Jipya. That means New Hope in Swahili.
Did you notice how I asked you to say the name of it rather than me to say it, because I thought I don't want to get that wrong. Tumaini Jipya.
Tumaini Jipya,
okay,
yeah.
That wasn't too bad.
That was actually chosen by the people in the village that I go and live with when I'm out there. Initially, I went out volunteering just for 3 weeks and got hooked into the area. They have absolutely nothing. Very dry, very dusty, no water supply. The children obviously have to go off and walk for miles till they find the water. They had no electricity, and virtually they were left rather high and dry by the government out there. They weren't getting any help at all. When I went out with a friend first on the volunteer trip, we actually managed to glaze all the classrooms for them.
So how long ago was this when you initially went out?
I went out in 2014,
right,
my first trip. Then I managed to partner up with Rotary Club of Blaby, and we put electricity in across a gorge which split the village, which is Lengajavi, which is about an hour and a half outside Arusha.
Right.
We need to obviously extend that to the rest of the school now and beyond and into the dispensary. And then this project that we're using the concert to help fund is a very, very large water project that will bring water to 14,000 people in the Maasai area of rural Tanzania.
So at the moment, do they have very limited water? Do they not have water at all?
They have no water at all in that area. We've had to go 15 kilometres to find a sustainable source of water.
Wow.
And so we're going to have to drill 2 boreholes. We've done the exploratory one to check the water, and we're going to have to pump and pipe that 15 kilometres to Lengajavi, and then it will be fed to other villages in between by gravity.
Wow. Wow, that sounds like a very big project.
It is. The whole project will be about £485,000.
And have you started raising money for this already then?
Yes, we've done a few fundraisers. This obviously is a big fundraiser for us on Friday. I've also been in touch with the government, and they're looking into the Department for International Development are looking into whether they can support us in any way. And I'm also in contact with the Rotary Club of Arusha out in Tanzania, and I've met with them personally. And so it's just keep going on the fundraising and going for grants, etc. as well.
I mean, from what you know so far, is this quite a common sort of problem in Tanzania?
It's a very big problem. Unfortunately, it's a large country. It has a lot of rural places that the government funds don't tend to reach so easily.
Right.
For example, the school in the village I go to live in is funded about £160 a year, and that is to cover 605 students at the moment.
Wow.
So the school is literally falling down around their ears. They need flooring repaired, they need roofing put in and ceilings, etc., and decoration on top of all the other things I've mentioned. So it's an ongoing problem, but if we can deal with the foundations for them and also bring in the skills and the knowledge, they'll be able to support themselves, and that's what we want. We want them to be self-sufficient and able to manage their own lives.
Well, that'd be excellent. I'll tell you what I'll do. We'll play some Dusty Springfield now, and then I'll ask you a little bit more about that in just a second.
Thank you.
And that was Dusty Springfield there, and In Private. And I have been chatting to Louise Richardson, who has been talking about this charity that I cannot remember how to say. How do I say the correct name? I don't want to make a...
Tumaini Jipya.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. Which means New Hope in Swahili, doesn't it?
Yes, yep.
Yes, and she's having a concert on Friday where she's got somebody called Rebecca Newman playing, known as the People Soprano. And I guess that it'd be very appealable to a lot of people because she's not just doing sort of classic music, she's doing quite a mix there, isn't she?
Yes, she is. It'll appeal to everybody's taste, so it should be a really good evening.
And you get a free drink in there as well, don't you?
Yes, you do.
So if anybody is listening right now, and if they're going to be released from hospital in time, or if their friends or relatives are listening, or listening on the internet, how can they sort of get tickets and find out more about this charity generally?
Well, you can ring me on 0116 2841 865, or we have a website, www.tumainijipya.org.
Could you spell that for us, please?
Yeah, TUMAINIJIPYA.org.uk, or you can find us on Facebook.
Right, so what can they, if they put Tumaini Jipya in?
Yes, there is another one that's from Tanzania, so if you just look for our actual advert of Rebecca Newman, you'll know you're on the right page.
Right, okay, fantastic. So if somebody wants to sort of basically find out more about this charity in general, because there might be some people that are listening right now that may still be in hospital on Friday or unable to go for any reason. Mm-hmm. Now, if they want to find out a little bit more about the charity and how they might be able to donate to it, what can they do? Is it same methods that they go through?
Yes, same methods at the moment. We're working at the moment on getting a donate button put on all our sites, but if you just want to contact me or go through the website and contact one of the other trustees, we'll be pleased to help. All donations welcome, as you can imagine, and very welcome. Thank you.
Right, that's fantastic. And do you have any particular stories you'd like to share with us about your sort of time when you've been out there, what you've experienced? I mean, obviously you must have experienced a great deal while you've been out there. It's a whole different culture, a whole different world, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'll share with you quite a few things, actually. The transport is something to behold. They have many of our very old minibuses that are falling apart at the seams. Usually you'd expect probably about 12 people on these. If you're lucky, you have a minimum of about 27, wow. All hanging out the doors. It's an eye-opener for health and safety.
Wow.
But it's the main...
Having worked in health and safety yourself in the past, you can really see that, can't you?
Well, health and safety is about 50 years behind us now over there.
Okay.
I've seen families on a motorbike, no crash helmets. The toilet when I'm staying there is a 30-foot hole in the ground. I compared at one point their water, which they boil and filter, against bottled water, and the colour, once it's had all the treatment, is still like urine. So it's not very pleasant for them at the moment.
And obviously, I mean, you spoke about the toilets, the water there, and it doesn't matter, obviously, what state you're in yourself. If you live there, you have to just put up with it, don't you? Whether you're an elderly person or a small child or somebody else, you would have to just go to the toilet like everyone else goes to the toilet and so forth, wouldn't you?
Yes, well, this is on the school premises. A lot of the people out in the Maasai huts, I would think, have even less facilities, and this is what we're trying to amend and improve, because of the motivation that we're actually out there and helping them. The communities come together to build a toilet block for the children, a new one, so that when the water comes through, it's all ready to be connected. So they are so supportive and pleased that people are actually taking notice and giving them a helping hand.
Oh, that's amazing. So tell me a bit more about the hospitals out there and the medical care.
It's very hit and miss. Obviously, people have to pay because there is no welfare state in Tanzania. Right. If you haven't got food, you don't eat, full stop. If you haven't got anywhere to stay, you outside. Right. You have to rely very heavily on friends there. Unemployment is extremely high. And in their area where we're working, they have what's known as dispensaries where doctors will come up for the day or whatever. But because it's not, they're not got water, they've not got electricity, it's very basic standard of care. Now we have the electricity across the gorge. I'm very one of my priorities is to actually extend that electricity to the dispensary, because at the moment any medications they do have, such as vaccines, are kept on shelves. They're not in fridges.
So basically the lifespan of these actual vaccines shortens considerably.
Yeah, or they use them and they're not going to be as effective. Also, if anything happens, they have their daylight goes at 6:30 every day, regardless of seasons. So they need the electricity to be able to help people later on in the day.
Wow, it really makes you appreciate how much we actually do have here, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, they haven't got electricity, they don't have lights or anything like that that we have. So obviously we find that if I come back late at night, I can't actually see. It's so black. Our eyes are not used to the dark. And so Christopher, the head teacher at the school, who always comes with me wherever I go, ends up having to lead me through the village because it is so black and you've got this huge gorge in the middle.
Have you got one of those cats with a massive light at the front?
I have one of those actually when I'm camping out there. But no, they are wonderful people who will give you their very last thing, and they don't have very much, but they will give you that. The community spirit is as we were a number of years back, and that's refreshing. But they do need to be able to have the basic, what we consider the very basics of living.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic. I'm going to ask you one more question, but I'm just going to play a little bit of Poison before I do that. We have been chatting to Louise Richardson. I would like to ask you a little bit more about education. Tell me about the education out there.
The education is a little bit different from ours. It's meant to be free for primary especially, but they've just extended it to secondary. But unfortunately, parents still get called to pay out for a lot of it because the government are not funding the schools sufficiently.
Are they not? Is that in the Tanzania area, or is that a problem that's widespread over Africa?
I think it's widespread over rural areas especially.
Okay.
But it makes it very difficult for the parents because obviously they don't have very much and they're getting into trouble for not being able to pay, so it's a bit of a vicious circle.
Right.
You find that they're very mixed classes and large classes. They have what's called a standard system in the primary school, in which they have to pass their exam at the end of the year to be able to go on to the next year.
Right.
So if they don't pass that exam, or they've been held out of school to help at home, which is quite common, the children are held back. So you can have children as young as 7 in a class with some children who could be 11 or 12,
right,
or even more, because they haven't been in school for all those years.
Right.
So it tends to get very mixed, very difficult to teach such a wide variety of children. There's also a lot of orphans there who have very little support.
Right.
There's no... The school I particularly visit, there is no resources whatsoever. The only resource they have is a textbook that our British government funded.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Are there many opportunities for the children once they have finished whatever education they've done? Are there many opportunities there for them, or do most of them tend to sort of stick working sort of within the actual village or locality, should I say? Yeah.
Some manage to go on, but it's the cost.
Right.
If they can get a sponsor, then that helps, and we have got some children that we have managed to find sponsors for, who are accessing English medium schools. We're always looking for sponsors, and it doesn't have to be extremely expensive, just a regular donation can help.
Right, it can make all the difference, can it? So
yes, I actually have at the moment someone wanting sponsorship for a child. They've had 3 daughters, 2 of which have gone on to school but ended up getting pregnant and losing the education. The third one is extremely bright. I have her report card, and they desperately want to get her into an all-girls school, right, so that she can finish her education. It's hit and miss as to if they can go on to college or university. Most people in Tanzania come out with just primary education, unfortunately, because of the costs. So obviously if anyone would like to help any child, I can link them up.
So tell me, what other sort of activities is Tumaini Jipya, I think that's the right name, what is that involved with, other than sponsorships as well and raising... So you're raising the money now for the water, but what other things are you actually involved with?
Well, there's obviously the electricity. We also are looking for volunteers who can give up time that can go out and help with basic, either in the classroom or basic building techniques, helping with decorating the school, etc. And we're also desperate to find anyone who can help with logistics, really. I have taken out some laptops when I visit, but I now have 3 desktop computers.
So by logistics, you actually mean people that can help transport things out for you?
Yes. It's extremely expensive just to send a box of clothes and small toys or resources costs me £100 a time.
Wow.
Whereas if somebody has a method, or they send stuff to Tanzania already and could help, I'd really be interested.
Or quite possibly if somebody is doing business out there or some other kind and they're going anyway and they don't mind sort of taking some stuff along, and it all goes towards the charity, doesn't it?
Well, the thing with the computers as well is that by doing that we can open up the internet to the school for resource. It also means that they can eventually get to sharing practice over Skype, having classroom experiences, having teachers teach from other areas into the school by Skype. So even though it sounds funny putting that before books, books are extremely expensive to export out there. But if we have somebody who can freight, or who goes, sends equipment out there that could help just put something in the hold with theirs or whatever, that would greatly help our charity and also help them have resources out there to expand their knowledge and expand the experience they give their children in schools.
That would be excellent, wouldn't it? Really good. And I like what the charity's actually doing. You're not just sort of giving them what you need, you're helping them to sort of become more self-sufficient in the long run, because give them the water, they'll be able to do so many more things with that, and it's kind of like a spiralling effect from there, enabling them to be more sort of enriched with things and sort of do more for themselves as well, though.
I would also like to say that none of the money that's collected through this charity goes on paying anybody's expenses or anything like that. When I go to Tanzania and when any of the trustees go, we all find our own money to pay for fares. We support ourselves out there. None of that comes out of the charity.
So it's 100%
donations
to the charity,
yes.
Isn't it? That's brilliant. Right, okay, so we'll just sort of round up now. So basically there's a concert on Friday night, and that will be with Rebecca Newman, and people can come along to the concert if they wish to do so, and that will be, is it Brockington College?
Brockington College in Enderby.
Right, okay, and it's 7:30, and you get to see this marvellous concert, plus you get a drink as well.
Yeah, and it's £15.
Yeah, and obviously if people want to sort of contribute towards the charity or get tickets, could you just remind us what your contact details are again, please?
Yes, my phone number is 0116 2841 865. The actual website for the charity is www.Tumaini Jipya, that's TumainiJipya.org.uk, and you can also find us under Tumaini Jipya New Hope on Facebook.
That's absolutely fascinating. You really inspired me today. I think, right, it's about sort of giving something back to the community, to the rest of the world as well. It's like, you're giving back to the world. It's just so admirable. So it's really good. And
thank you.
And I encourage a lot of other people to sort of do it, because I think when you do give to a charity or give your time or something like that, you just feel incredible yourself, don't you?
You do, and any little amount you can give can go a long way when put with other people's donations. So you must never be put off by thinking, I can't do much. Any little will help.
That's so true. That's absolutely so true. And is there anything else you'd like to add today?
No, just if anybody get in touch if you're interested in any of the volunteer work or whatever. We're university students or youngsters just coming out of school, anything like that. It's a really good experience for them to see life in a different way.
It sounds absolutely fascinating. Thank you very much for coming in to tell us about this today,
Thank
Louise.
you for having me here. Thank you.
Cheers.
Tindy C. This is Radio Fox.